It's
Hey everybody, welcome to Tea Time with Amy and Bev. Good evening for us.
yes, good evening. How are you? It seems like it's been forever.
Yeah, it has been. So Bev and I have been doing one session and recording 2 to 4 episodes because of life. Life is happening, and there's a lot happening in my world. Um, and I'm navigating a lot of different things right now. So this is how we're navigating tea time right now, is doing several in one sitting, and then meeting in 2 to 3 weeks to do some more. So and every time something happens and during that time frame when we're not recording, I think, I need to share that on tea time. I need to share that on tea time. And then it gets by me. I don't make note of it. But then at the same time, I think, you know what, something's going to trigger something and it'll come up. So it's divine timing, and it's meant to be when it needs to be revealed. So I, at the same time, I don't even, I'm like, well, if it pops up, it'll pop up.
Yeah, and so I'll sit down when I have time, and I had a little bit of time today, so I sat down and started writing down, asking Spirit, like, what do you want to talk about? Or actually, I said, Joy, so what do you want to talk about today, Joy? Like, how's it? What are we going to have a conversation about?
Yeah.
So it's like all the stuff came out. I wrote it down, but so it's like I had to put my glasses on to read it. So
Yeah.
half the time we'll just fly by the seat of our pants, anyways. And if it gets to that point, we'll just take a look at some of the stuff. But
Yeah.
life's been happening, hasn't it?
It sure has. All of it's been fun. And at the same time, it's been tiring. So, and then having several people around me. So this is interesting, having several people around me not feeling well, and me holding my space of my body's healthy, whole, and complete. Everything is good, right? But something crept in, and so I've had a little bit of a sore throat today, but still feeling good. I haven't felt run down or anything, so that's a plus. I think it's just maybe some still deep-seated stuff in there that's popping up, and that's okay. But actually, what's interesting, so as I'm talking, I'm like, wait, there's more. I know there's more. Last night with my day job, we were at an event last night, and so this is really interesting as I'm talking about this. I love this. That so my boss had asked one person, one of the staff members, to talk, and then she gave me a piece to do. She's like, okay, you do this part and you do this part. And we were like, okay. Well, the one person did their part, and then when she got to where I was supposed to speak, I got up and I was talking, and I got to one of the things I was to talk about, and I started talking, and then she kind of took over and just ran with what I was feeling like I was supposed to be talking about. So it was kind of we're just in a room, people were standing around hanging out, and so she just kept talking, and I just kind of moved on over and sat down, and I had to sit there and process it for a second. So processing, okay, how, because I felt a little like, hey, you're not allowing me to use my voice. You're kind of stepping on my toes here. You're just kind of taking over like I'm not important, like I'm chopped liver standing here in front of everybody, and you're over here and you're just spewing everything out. So I'm sitting there processing while she's doing her thing. I sitting there processing all this, and I was like, okay, how do you feel? Well, I feel like I was just shut down and not allowed to use my voice. And how do you feel about that? Seriously, this is how I talk to myself internally in a group of people. Well, how do you feel about that? And then I thought, she's new to the group. She's excited. She's energized. She's kind of like that cheerleading type of personality of, super excited, um and it's okay. It's okay. So interesting enough, this morning I woke up and I had a sore throat. Not sore, but I could feel it settling in. And I was like, oh, okay. But the first thought for the human brain is, well, everybody around me's been sick. So I guess it's meant to be. I got to get sick. But also sitting here just talking out loud about it. And then you start connecting the dots. Well, you weren't allowed to use your voice. Somebody shut you down. You weren't important. You were pushed aside. You need to just be quiet. Don't talk unless you're being talked to, right? Those stories that we heard as children. So it's a little different. One of my points here is I have been processing this throughout the day, last night. But it's interesting that even as I say it out loud, more comes up. And so sometimes you need just somebody to sit there and listen while you talk. And then you're like, oh, yeah, okay, well, I can see how this happened. And then this happened and this happened. And it makes it a little, you can go deeper a lot of times. For me, anyway, I can go deeper if I'm saying it out loud. So thanks for listening, Bev. Thank you for everybody for being here.
You're welcome. That'll be $50.
Yeah,
And
like, I'll send you an invoice. Checks in the mail.
But it's important to go through that whole process. And I had an experience recently that just some behavior and how I felt about it and did not express myself. That's not even the right way to go. There would have been a time in my past that I can recognize that there was some karmic stuff that I was experiencing. And when I say karmic, it's an experience for you to learn from. And I can recognize in this experience how I have shown up for others and how I have spoke to others and not allowing them their voice. It's not the same because your situation is a bit different, but I just recognized why I was having the experience. So when you say going deeper, when you start asking questions, and I can ask them with inside or I can voice it from outside, right? And the information is like right there. And it's always been there. And that's the thing that I'm recognizing. The more that I've been meditating now for a couple of months, every single day, and I do it a couple times a day. Sometimes, I'll try to do it as many times that I can, and I do it even when I'm working. So it's been very beneficial, and having the dialogues in your head is amazing because it does help a lot. But if I didn't have those questions and that dialogue with myself, it's so easy to take on someone else's stuff as your own. And then, but when you start asking questions and you kind of step back from it, you don't take it on as your own. You get to actually see it, like, why did it show up for me? Or, and gosh, while you were talking, it's exciting to know that someone's wanting to say all these things, to take control. So it's like, in the future, this person is a take control kind of person. So you've got a better idea about this person. And if this is a cheerleader type personality, a lot of people like that kind of personality. So to be a front runner and maybe to give yourself a break a bit, you know what I mean? So it's just different perspectives about the whole thing, which I've been gaining for myself on so many levels. It seems like it's a constant evolution, and it's a beautiful state to be in, honestly, because it's like you get to see all the nuggets, why they had shown up. And for all we know, maybe you were starting to get sick, but I would agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I would, because I would look back and been like, okay, well, yeah, I was shut down, so I was not allowed to express myself. And so we know how to express ourselves. We know how to find ways. And sometimes we don't have the time for it, or sometimes we're just not in the space to do it. You know what I mean? We're just not there in that space, but every one of these are just opportunities. These experiences are opportunities for us to, show up and do better, is what you've always said. And it's like seeing how was it a benefit to me? Because everything is a benefit to us. however I want to look at things. Honestly, there's been some things. And all that being said, recently during my little group that I have, it's these revelations that come in. They're so simple, but to recognize that everybody's a guide. You're a guide. I'm a guide, and this person was a guide in your experience. My person is a guide. You know, we have all these guides. My grandkids are guides. I'm a guide for my grandkids, but it's like knowing that there's always something for us to learn from each other, which is a bonus. But also knowing that takes, I'm going to go way out the other side. That actually takes a lot of stress off of a person. So if I recognize Jim was a guide, and Jim's being a guide for me, that purpose had ended, and then another guide had come in to help evolve me, or to help me graduate, or help trigger me, or whatever it looks like, right? Because we got to have other people in our lives in order to have these experiences kind of put the flashlight on, like, oh, look at, I see a sticker right there, a little splinter. Otherwise we wouldn't see them. So it helps bring all this stuff to the surface, and then we feel lighter.
Yeah. To add to that, one of the other things that I processed with this whole situation was being interrupted. And that was actually the first thing I thought about in this situation is, okay, she interrupted me. How do I interrupt people? Or how am I interruption? Or how am in what ways do I get excited about something and I just want to talk, and I just start talking when somebody else is talking, or interrupt them and talk, which I have done because I get excited about things, and I just jump in. And for a little bit at work, I've experienced a little bit of frustration and annoyance, and people will be doing things and it's like they're just not getting it. And there's different reasons for that. So I will just jump in and say, okay, here we go. Here's what you got to do this, do that, right? And just kind of not being a teacher or a guide, being frustrated with the whole thing. So it's like,
you're still a teacher and a guide at the same time. You still are.
So but seeing it from the frustrated point of view, I'm like, okay, well, I can see how I've been doing that to other people. And so it's that for me is like an attitude check. I'm like, all right, you got to check yourself, sister, because you do this too, but you're doing it in a little bit different way, which is a little uncomfortable. And I have felt it in my body when I do it. Because I'm just like, oh, it's like, come on, let's just get this done already. So yeah, so there were several, and there's probably more going to come up from it, but there were several things that I recognized about myself. And I was talking to a lady today, this morning, and we were having a conversation, and I brought it up. I said, and this thing happened last night. It made me a little, I kind of at the moment felt shut down, but you know what? This is what I said, and I loved it. I said, and I said with a smile, it's like I'm telling you, and I appreciate those moments now because it helps me be better.
Yeah, because we move past it. We don't have to have it anymore, and then it slows us down. So I'm at a point now where I'm really thinking about the things that I say. I'm having a dialogue with inside. If someone's talking to me outside of myself, I'll go inside and have the conversation first before it comes out.
Yeah.
So it's like there's just a different process that's happening. But we can hear, then it gives the opportunity to hear the messages, really. And then really to see what's going on here. And does this have anything to do with me? You know what I mean? Just like you just said, it's just going through this whole dialogue to see about what this is about. What is this all about? And I've been just having.
I was gonna say, it wasn't about blaming her for anything.
Oh no.
My immediate, I've gotten so good at this. My immediate thing is, well, okay, how'd that make you feel? And for me, talking to myself, how'd that make me feel? And what was a lesson here. And usually when I say one, then other things come up too. So, and then once I recognize, I'm like, oh, okay. And so for the audience, just for context, I was born, my mom married an abusive person, so mentally emotional abusive, and so that's what I came into. So that would be the beginning of my time here on earth, and just always being shut down, because as a little kid, don't speak unless you're being spoken to, be quiet. You definitely can't stick up for yourself, and by no means. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there so they understood why I felt, why that sore throat would settle in, because I was being shut down. But I very rarely do I point the finger and blame somebody for how I feel. Now, before, it used to be constant. It was everybody's fault for me feeling like crap, meaning sad, angry, frustrated. Now that is not my typical go-to. So that's a good thing.
It's nice, actually. It is. And then it feels better afterwards too, because you don't have the same emotional, you don't have to feel bad for the things that you would have said or how you could have reacted, or you just went over and sat down.
Or hang on to it for days and weeks, months.
Yeah.
Same. And then have an uncomfortable energy the next day at work because she did this and I couldn't finish my spiel. And no, I don't have time for that. I'm like, no, I don't want to feel that way.
No, because it doesn't feel good. It's useless.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not true. It's not useless because you can take a look at it and say, oh, well, next time I'm not going to do this, or I'm going to have the dialogue within myself, or it's whatever you want to do. It's just whatever feels better. And to me, the feel better part is just stopping right now. Go take some breaths, breathe, check in with self, ask some questions.
And other than that, it was a delightful evening, and we showed up at work today, and we laughed and had a great day. It was a wonderful day, and yeah. So now the difference would have been if I would have been upset and held on to that because the situation happened and then went to work. I would have had a grudge, right? Holding on to a grudge. I would have retracted. So I would have been very quiet, short. If anybody talked to me, I would have been very short. So these are all characteristics I used to have. I would totally ignore them all day unless they asked me something directly. Like these are all these things that I didn't do at all. We went in fact, we laughed several times today. It was so fun. So that to recognize in yourself how far you've come when you've done this type of work is so worth it. Because then that energy would have affected me all day long at work, all night. It would have affected me last night. I wouldn't have slept. It would have been, well, I should have, and I could have, right? The shoulda, coulda, woulda. And I wouldn't have slept. And I probably feel worse today than I do had that happened.
Oh, yeah.
Then I would have woke up mad, right? Because I'm going to start my day. All right, well, now I got to go to work and face her. Really? And then mad all day. And then who knows how much longer, days, weeks, months, years. I'd hold on this forever.
Same though, and hold inventory, right? I would go over this checklist of all these things this person has ever done. I don't do that anymore. If I start catching myself doing that, I'm like, that doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel good. I'm not going to rehash that stuff. I don't sit and bring forth this is what you're doing or what you did, or I did that. I did it for a very long time, and it just doesn't, that's just not part of my life anymore. I have zero desire for it. It doesn't feel good. And it's like, why keep, we've talked about this before, but why keep reading the same freaking chapter over and over and over again? Move on to the next book already.
Right. Yeah. Get a new title, something.
That's right. That's right. You already read the end. Why do you keep going back and rereading it again?
Right. So you're in 2024 right now, and you're still reading the chapter, just the chapter, not even the whole book, just the chapter, same chapter over and over again from 89, 95. Right? It's like you're still reading that chapter. You haven't even read the whole, you lived it, but apparently you need to keep reliving it. We know because we've done it. We're being lighthearted about it, but we've been there.
And when you stop and when you start recognizing all this stuff, you recognize how much time that you're not present for all the amazing things when you keep going over that stuff. And that's something that I processed probably in the last few months too. Just recognizing how you really can disappear because you're not present, you're not in the conversations with things. I can go inside in my head and I can be gone for a long time. And anymore, I just process things on the inside because I'll start asking my team, I start asking questions. I've been doing this a lot lately. I constantly do it, tuning in, right? I'm tuning into frequencies and stuff like that. So to whatever it is, it could be Archangel Michael, it could be Archangel Metatron. I'm asking, what do you feel like? What does your energies feel like? Asking questions about, well, can you talk to me? Hearing sounds like that, like when you got water in your ear, like this clicking, and like I know that something's happening, but I'm not translating it just yet, or I need to fine tune it. I don't need to do anything. It's just happening, but it's letting me know, but it's happening in correspondence with questions. So it's kind of fascinating. And the synchronicities, there are, oh my gosh, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculously awesome and amazing when you start paying attention, when you start tuning in, how different life is. Life is like full of all these miracles, like miracles with goosebumps and, just constant goosebumps all the time. And even to a point where recently I thought, I had a day that didn't think it was, I thought it was going to be a quiet day. I didn't think there was going to be really any deep conversations. And it turned out to have two deep conversations with these two people. And I was like, that's, you just you can't make this stuff up. But it's like, I kind of put it out, even though it wasn't a positive charge when I put it out there, like, it's probably not going to be positive, these great deep conversations. But by just saying that, it turned out to be these deep conversations because the universe doesn't hear can't or won't or don't or any of that kind of stuff. It just kind of matches whatever I put out there. And I was neutral about it. So it was just it turned out to be such a beautiful day. All my days are turning out to be beautiful days, even though I did not sleep last night. Here I am.
Here we are. And being present and having those experiences, if you are still in your head like we used to be, and thinking about all this stuff and all the turmoil and the trauma and drama, you wouldn't be able to have yourself present enough to be able to tune into spirit and get those questions answered internally, or be present enough to be in a deep conversation such as you had, right? So I heard I was listening to a podcast the other day and I heard this thing. So this guy was asking this lady, okay, so about how many times a day do you think about this traumatic situation? She's like, 30 minutes. He goes, okay, well, I'm just doing the math on my calculator on my phone. So if you think 30 minutes a day times 365 days a year, right? Is that right? 10,950 minutes. So now if we multiply that, let's just say by 20 years. So 10,950 times 20 years, 219,000 minutes. Minutes. They could have been doing so much more with.
It's
But
true.
we stay stuck in our head about the past and about thinking about all that stuff. And again, I'm saying this lightheartedly, but believe me, I did this and probably for more than 20 years. And that's
Yeah.
time we can't get back. We just can't get it back. But what we can do is just start right now. Right now is a good time to start. If you want to make a change and do something different right now is a good time to start. Don't wait for Monday. Don't wait till January 1. Start right now.
Yes.
Yes. So let's do it. Any final words before we wrap this up?
Make a magical week.
And start now.
Right now. This minute.
This is the start of your week. This right now is the start of your week. So make it magical.
It's the start of your life.
Thank you, friends, for hanging out with us. Tea Time with Amy and Bev. We're found on many platforms. We are here on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict, iHeartRadio, and Spreaker. And be sure to have these conversations with your friends or family, or at least share the resources, whether it's our podcast or anybody else's. Any information that feels good to you, that resonates with you, that's helping you on your journey, please share that information with other people. I send out podcast links all the time, books, speakers, influencers. I share stuff like that on a regular basis. So there, you definitely know somebody who could use that information as well. So with that, thank you. We appreciate your time and energy. Thanks for hanging out with us. Tea Time with Amy and Bev, and we will see you next time.
Bye.